If you ask the average person on the street about Ultraman, they'll likely describe a world of shiny silver suits and rubber wrestling matches. To outsiders, the entire property appears to be a weekly 3-minute toy commercial, a brightly colored spectacle designed to keep children engaged between commercial breaks. But as the story unfolds, this colorful superhero fantasy fractures. The silver skin is occasionally treated as a deceptive shell, hiding a nightmare of biological mutations and cosmic dread. This surface-level camp masks one of the most unsettling survival horror narratives in television history. Dedicated fan communities often redesign the hero to match this hidden reality, illustrating the character as a grotesque biological chassis engineered to house a glowing, Lovecraftian orb of light. These eldritch redesigns aren't a rejection of the source material. They are a recognition of the aesthetic horror that has existed in the franchise's DNA from the beginning. Take the series Ultraman Ace, which regularly employed gothic cinematography and eerie spirits. It featured entities that possessed children to wreak havoc, turning the typical superhero format into a sequence of supernatural hauntings. While these eerie monster designs provide the atmosphere, the deeper horror lies in the physical and psychological toll placed on the human being wearing the suit. The franchise's most iconic visual is the color timer, the flashing light fixed to every hero's chest. The real-world explanation is cynical. Producers created a 3-minute time limit as a strict budget constraint to keep special effects sequences short. In the context of the story, however, that timer dictates a frantic struggle for survival. This chart shows how energy levels plummet as physical trauma escalates. Within that 3-minute window, it's a race against biological exhaustion. Every blow landed by a monster compounds this damage. As the timer turns red, the host fights while their internal organs shut down. The color timer is a countdown to mortality, ensuring that every victory requires the host to survive a near-fatal physical sacrifice. To understand the stakes, we have to look past the giant alien and focus on the fragile human host trapped within that massive warring body. Merging with an Ultra is described as a violent process where a human mind is entirely swallowed by a massive, chaotic consciousness of radiant energy. This union often results in a total loss of bodily autonomy. The alien consciousness can seize control of the host's limbs at will, or erase entire segments of their memory to maintain the secrecy of their mission. Even if the host survives the battles, they are bound to a being that outlives humanity. They are destined to witness everyone they love age and die, while they remain locked in a cycle of apocalyptic warfare for centuries. Becoming a host is less of a superhero origin and more of a life sentence defined by isolation and trauma. This focus on suffering reached its peak in Ultraman Nexus, a series that explicitly deconstructs the physical cost of being a hero. While it is the most violent era of the franchise, the creators aren't just using gore for shock value. The show treats the hero's body as a finite resource that literally breaks down under the strain of battle. To prevent mass hysteria, the very organizations the hero protects are shown forcefully erasing the memories of civilians who witness the carnage. The primary villain, Mephisto, intentionally targets this trauma, using psychological manipulation to convince the protagonist that his suffering is meaningless. Nexus uses these brutal conditions to push its protagonist to a total breaking point, stripping away the fantasy of the invulnerable savior. This raises a question. Why subject a hero to such intense biological and mental trauma in a show meant for a young audience? In apocalyptic storytelling, the darkness exists to prove a specific point, that a light is only truly defined by its ability to persist when everything else is stripped away. As the hero's body fails in Nexus, he realizes his power isn't a weapon or a curse. It is a baton that can be passed between people who are willing to share the burden of that physical pain. This shared trauma becomes a survival tool. While the villains fight in total isolation, the hero finds that his failing biology is reinforced by the trust and compassion of the people standing beside him. The series persists because it eventually reveals the silver giant as a shared responsibility. The body of the hero may break under the weight of the cosmic threat, but the mission continues as long as there is someone else ready to catch the light.